don't eat this grandmother's cookies. In the winter of 1933, two salesmen named Dora and Mott were on a business trip, traveling around Colorado. But while they were traveling through the mountains, a severe snowstorm has begun, because of which the men's car got stuck in the middle of the mountain. I don't know what to do, to look for help. After some time, on foot, they noticed a small house in the distance and understood, we are saved. When they knocked on the door, an elderly woman opened it. She'll let them in, offered to cook them a meal, and she allowed me to stay overnight, and the men agreed. The snowstorm outside has intensified even more overnight, locking the men inside for several days. Approximately a week spent cooped up at home. The weather started to clear up, and the men told the elderly woman plans to leave the next morning, and this upset Grandma. She insisted on that. They need to stay at least for several more days. She baked cookies for the men that night, and they ate it all before going to bed. But the next morning, when the men woke up, they understood that they couldn't move. Grandma approached the men and spoke to them. You are the best grandchildren.
House on Old Hollow Road.
In the late 90s, in Wood County, West Virginia, there stood an old farmhouse. The last record of it in the county archives dated back to 1978. After that, nothing. No sales, no taxes, no reports, just silence. In 1993, a young couple, David and Linda Kramer, moved in. The house was cheap, surrounded by cornfields and dense forest. The real estate agent warned them.
Don't open the basement. There's no key for it anyway.
They laughed it off. But on the first night, David couldn't sleep. Something was moving downstairs. Slow, deliberate steps on the concrete. Sometimes it sounded like scratching, as if someone were clawing at the wall from the inside. On the third night, Linda woke up because cold air was blowing right on her face. The window was closed. She turned on the lamp and saw that the basement door was slightly open. On the steps, wet barefoot footprints leading into the darkens. Inside, they found an old iron chair, rusted chains on the floor, and deep claw marks in the concrete walls. Written in charcoal across the wall were the words, "I watch when the lights go out." They ran out of the house immediately. But when Linda turned back, someone was standing in the basement window. A tall, thin figure, no clear features, just white eyes, without pupils. 2 weeks later, police found their car on the side of the road, 10 miles away. The engine was still running. Their phones, wallets, and clothes were inside, but the Kramers were gone.
He House on Hollow Road.
In the suburbs of Savannah, Georgia, there's an old house locals call the House on Hollow Road. Its windows are boarded up, its yard overgrown, and every few years, it reappears in police reports when someone decides to go inside. The last person was a college student named Emma. She was writing a thesis on urban legends and wanted to prove they were all fake. She brought a camera, a flashlight, and a handwritten note from her professor with the address. Inside, the air was thick, like the house was breathing. The walls were covered with mirrors, hundreds of them. Some old and cloudy, others new, spotless, like they had just been hung. Her footage cuts off after 27 minutes. The final frame shows Emma standing with her back to a mirror, but her reflection is facing the camera, and it's smiling. A week later, an envelope arrived at the college. No return address. Inside was a single USB drive. It contained new footage, the same house, empty again. The mirrors were dusty now, but in each one, a girl was standing, and every one of them was smiling.
The Windowless Room. Back in the late 80s, when old psychiatric hospitals across the US were being shut down, a demolition crew in Pennsylvania came across something strange. Behind a thick brick wall, a wall that, according to the building's blueprints, shouldn't have been there, they found a hidden door. It had no handle on the inside. When they forced it open, the workers stepped into a narrow, windowless room. There was a rusted iron bed frame, a metal chair, and a tall mirror blackened with soot. The walls were covered in deep scratches, claw marks that had dug almost to the concrete. Beneath the bed, they found a small notebook. The handwriting was shaky, frantic, but still legible.
They told me I'll only be here for a few days, but the clock never moves. When I sleep, he comes out of the mirror. At first he only stares, then he copies things I don't do. At night, I feel him standing by my bed. In the morning, he's back, inside the glass.
The last entry ended mid-sentence. He stepped out. I can hear him breathe. When the crew tried to remove the mirror, they all reported the same thing. Their reflections lagged, moving a fraction of a second too late. Some swore the reflections smiled, even when they didn't. Spooked, they boarded it up and sealed the wall again. The building still stands, covered in ivy and rusting away behind a chain-link fence. Locals call it the Windowless Room. Teenagers dare each other to sneak inside at night. They say if you press your ear to the wall, where the mirror was sealed, you can hear slow, heavy breathing right behind you. And if you use your phone flashlight to check your reflection, it might not smile when you do.